So hey, listen, thanks for doing this. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
And it was really weird how this, I think it all came about because um, I started seeing ads for your stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, and you know, Facebook, you get a million ads, you see them all the time. But I actually got a scarf. And actually, I should be wearing it today because it's a little cold. So I got a scarf that's like a striped scarf,
Yep.
and I love this scarf,
Premium
I love it.
blinder. I knew right where you're headed.
Yeah. So and I kept on getting it.
That guy.
Well, so I kept on looking at it, and and I think we alluded to this in some of our conversations. As a small business owner, you're trying to like manage all the stuff, especially with crazy things that are happening. So it's like,
Right.
can I get it, or can I just delay it and defer it? And then you get the message, and then we exchange some things. I'm like, all right, screw it, I like it. I'll grab it. So I actually ordered it, and then after I ordered it, and I was really surprised because I felt like you were actually, responding to the emails. So I
Yeah.
get the emails, and it says Ryan, CEO. And a lot of times you get them, it's like, you think it's an Autobot, and that nobody really reads them.
Right, right.
So then I was like, well, let me see if that's true here. So I sent you a message, or I sent a message back, and you responded.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's cool.
Novel idea, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. I had this exact conversation with somebody over the weekend. So after
Yeah.
I ordered, and we had that conversation, that's when I reached out. I'm like, would you be interested in coming on this thing? Because I think there might be something here to sort of chat about. And
Sure.
in that interim, the order was shipped. So just to be crystal clear, I ordered the product before we had these conversations, and
Yeah.
it was due to come this weekend. And we were away this weekend because my son graduated from college, so we were away, and we got back
Congratulations.
yesterday. And what was waiting for me?
The box.
The box.
Yeah.
So if you're okay, I'm just gonna pop it open now.
No, absolutely.
I'm like nervous that I didn't get the right size because look at this thing.
And if you didn't, I have a very customer friendly experience when it comes to exchanges and returns. I
You
like,
you being customer centric, I didn't get that from you.
yeah, no, not at all, right? No, I've got my background kind of lends to it, but at the end of the day, as a small business owner, I care genuinely about the experience that the customer has. And buying a hat online is not one of the easiest things to do, right? Like, because there's sizing issues, you really don't know what the look and the feel is, product imagery, especially the introduction of AI. I mean, anybody they can hoodwink you into buying a
Yeah.
piece of garbage. And I don't ever want customers to feel that way. And so if you don't get it right, why should it be jumping through hoops and hurdles just to actually get it right? I genuinely care that you love the hat you get. Because at the end of the day, if you love the hat you get, you're not going to get it just once.
Well, it's interesting you say that, right? Because, to what you were saying earlier, you can trick people once,
Yeah,
right? But unless you're delivering quality and people appreciate that and sort of can feel that, they're not coming back. So, and there's a
not at
lot of
all.
people who are the one trick pony. I have a funny feeling you're not in the one trick pony business. So,
No.
I'm going to try to open this thing up. I'm terrible with tape and everything else. So,
Yeah.
bear with me for a second. There's one
We love
side.
doing unboxings, so doing unboxing live is even better.
Well, I was like, should I even do that? But then literally I was running around today doing all this other kind of stuff. I didn't even get a chance to open it. I was still unpacking all my stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, the box is still
Yeah.
here. My
You
wife's like, what?
absolutely should.
Yeah, my wife's like, what is that? I'm like, never mind.
And the premium blinder is a special hat. Like it's not for everybody because it's not usually going to be an everyday hat. Like you said, you've got the scarf. You're not going to
Yeah.
wear that scarf every day. You're going to wear it with a certain attire or whatever activity.
I love this
The
scarf, and
blinder.
I'm turning into a scarf guy, and
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm a little older gentleman than you probably, and over the years, like I used to do a lot of business travel, and look, when I would go to Europe, like everybody had scarves on,
Yeah.
and like you're a little kid, your mother wraps 15 scarves around you,
Sure.
and it sort of fades away. But I was like, all right, it's cool. So then I just started messing around, and I started doing it like when my kids went to school. I would get the school scarves and all that kind of stuff. And I
Yep.
noticed like if I have a scarf and a hat on, I don't even need a jacket.
No.
It's like super cool. And then I just sort of love the look of the scarf, and
Yeah.
I like this one. I hate to say it, but I'm a Yankee fan, so the pinstripe was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing the ads that you guys had popping up. I'm like, oh man, I'm hoping that would match and look really cool. So, all right,
Yeah. After seeing the scarf, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
all right. So hold on. I got one more thing, plastic thing to cut open here. Let's see, yeah. So, we got a little. Oh, what is this? A little sticker.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. Look at you guys. Look at that. It goes right nice on the phone, on the back of the
Oh, it
phone.
goes on anything. We did a small campaign. What do you do with your sticker? I was blown away by the response of people showing me where they put their stickers. Like the fact that they're actually using it was really cool. Somebody's got a Chrysler 300. He's like, stickers, bumper stickers don't touch this car. And he sends me a picture, and he's got the Peaky Hat silhouette logo right back in the middle of his rear window. I was like, all right, that's
Oh, that's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
So here's a thank you card. You're welcome. I won't read it. When you order your hat, you'll be able to read it here. There's no packaging. Oh, look at this. Holy schmoly. Look at this. Look at this. Wow. Look at
How
that.
about it? Look at that. Perfect match.
Look at that. Oh man, oh man. I did ask one thing because listen, I'm not a very
Yeah.
trendy guy. And I know there's one accoutrement that's part of this, and we'll
Yep.
see. Oh, look at this. Oh, I
Gold
like
satin
these little
liner.
tassels in the back.
Yeah, and so those tassels in the back, I don't, just for lack of better terms. Oh man, right out the box, it
Look
looks
at that. Look at that.
that's a win. What I did those ribbons that you saw in the back, I call it the perfect fit ribbon. So if it happens to be like half a size big, or like I joke, like some people they have long hair, they may get a haircut, you can tie that
Oh yeah,
down
yeah.
to cinch it for a perfect fit.
Oh man, I like this inside too.
Yeah,
Look
satin
at that.
liner. Yep.
It's
And
like
that one comes
quilted.
with a quilted liner, so it's going to be warmer. You may not want to wear it on a 90-degree day.
Well, it's
But
even this spring now, for
yeah,
sure, in the
we've
mornings and
had
stuff.
mornings and evenings. It's
What do you
ideal.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
I'm actually super impressed that it works so well right out of the box.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah. And it does like the scarf, like it's as though you bought them together.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm telling you, man, I'm getting into the scarf stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a nice. This is really.
Yeah. That's a really good look for you too. Do you
Well,
typically wear newsboys, or is this like one of your first?
what's that? Say that again.
Do you typically wear a newsboy cap like that style,
No,
or
this is my
first?
first one. Like I
All right.
usually have a couple fedoras. I'll send you a
Yeah,
picture of a couple of the fedoras that I have. One is more like a springtime. It's like a straw one, and then
sure.
I got I like to call it. It's like the old time old man hat, which I just love that style.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, every single time I wear that hat out that I have, the black one, I get compliments every single time. Guys
That's
come up to
awesome.
me, nice hat, because I'm kind of I'm sick of baseball caps.
Yeah. And
You know, it,
honestly, it's funny that you say that because a lot of my customers say the same thing. And I don't want to downplay a baseball cap because, like you said, you're a fan of the Yankees. There's a lot of professional baseball players that are grown men that wear a baseball hat. But the whole narrative of I've outgrown it. Like baseball caps are
yeah,
for boys and like nice caps, fedoras, straw hats, the newsboy,
yeah,
flat cap.
like when I'm,
Yeah.
the baseball cap is still great and I still use it. But like if I'm going out to a bar or if I'm going out to a restaurant, or if I'm doing something, I just want to be a little more
Yeah.
classy. I
Yeah.
don't want to be running around with a Yankee
You'll be
cap,
that guy
a
wearing
dirty
an old
Yankee
baseball
cap, and
cap sitting in
yeah,
a
yeah. So
four-star restaurant.
yeah, and you know what the thing is? I think the men really appreciate that, and the women like it's like a style thing for the guys. A lot of times, I'll get a wink, you know,
Yeah,
especially from the older gentlemen. They like that, and the younger
right.
guys like, yeah, that's cool. Where'd you get that? And I think the women appreciate, a little more, enthusiasm other than a baseball cap. So I
Yeah.
like
At the end
this.
of the day, like it's just a cap, but it's also not just a cap. Like as a brand, I'm not just selling hats, I'm selling confidence is really what it is.
Yeah,
And as men mature, you can't always find that because I think there's this like degradation of confidence that men have as we continue to get older. I mean, when you're young and in your 20s, you're felt and you're getting attention, and then all of a sudden, life hits you and then all that starts to go down. So that confidence starts to degrade. And it's like,
Yeah,
how do you pick that up? Yes, it might be artificial, but I think just your appearance when you walk out the door can do wonders. And the confidence helps, if you're battling with depression or anxiety or any of these different things, that boost goes so far. And if we can do that in a box, why
yeah,
not?
I'm telling you, I can't wait to get out with this thing, man. Because I'm telling you, like when I wear the fedoras and stuff like that, you get the compliments. Like it's
Yeah.
just like you set yourself apart a little bit.
Yeah.
And it does give you like a hit of adrenaline, or what's the oxytocin or whatever that
Yeah.
chemical in your brain is.
Right.
It definitely gives you a little spike. You like you put your shoulders back a little
You
higher.
do.
So
You absolutely do. Yeah. If you feel better walking out the front door, why wouldn't you?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
Ryan, I have a funny feeling I'm going to love this conversation, but like
Sure.
how or where did you get into the hat business? Because I
Yeah,
can't
it's
imagine you
it's
saying like coming out of high school or college going
yeah.
hats.
No, I have a good story with that high school comment too. It's not a sexy story. It's not like this evolution. I'm one of the few, like there's a lot of hatters, some incredible hatters across the globe, not just in the United States, but overseas too, UK, Scotland.
Well, let me. What is a hatter? Define a
Well,
hatter.
somebody who creates hats. Like I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know that
Oh,
there's
okay.
really a definitive answer, right? So whoever creates Stetson, they're hatters. Gilran Brothers, they're hatters.
Okay. Kind of like a cobbler, but for
Yeah,
hats. Gotcha.
bingo. I don't come from a family with like 100-year lineage of hat makers or anything like that. And so that's where I think Peaky Hat is relatively unique in that regard because I'm not sitting on this legacy where I know I've got it all down and we've been doing it for hundreds of years and you're
Right,
buying
right.
this legacy. I'm not that story. I'm the complete opposite end of that spectrum. And so I have a little over 2 decades of experience in the professional world. I cut my teeth in the startup world for about 9 to 10 years. We were creating a digital product that was focused on fan engagement. So my clients and customers then were professional sports teams, NBA, Major League Soccer, MLB, NFL team, like you name it across the board, and then like 200 to 300 colleges and universities.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm from Columbus, I'll use them as an example. If you were a fan of Ohio State, you could download the new tab experience for Ohio State. So every time you would open a new tab in your browser, instead of staring at Google, we would take over that page with Ohio State news and information. You still had access to your search bar, but it would also be a feed of Ohio State information.
I can imagine what you programmed for Michigan State when
Yeah, all those amazing. Those were so buggy. Yeah. And so I cut my teeth in that space and I was on the business development, the product evolution side. I knew enough about code, how to speak to our coders, and I knew enough around design on how to design look and feel, but really where I leaned in heavily was around the customer experience. Not only the customers that we had on a B2B side, but also directly to the consumer. What was that user's experience like when they were using one of our tools? Long story short, I exited the startup world and went to a company local to Columbus where we had private label credit cards and rewards and loyalty. So if you think of like Victoria's Secret, they have
Yeah.
their whole rewards program, and we built that for
Oh,
them.
wow.
And then, all the way from IKEA to Sony, that company now they do the NFL. So you can get your NFL card, your debit card, and also get rewards points for the NFL. So that was a company that I was with, and my focus there was on customer experience and digital strategy.
Oh,
So I
cool.
really was into the digital space and understanding what consumer behavior looked like in retail because retail is who we served. And so I exited that company right in the midst of the pandemic and went into global consulting and helped large retailers with data strategy and business intelligence and customer experience and UI and UX capabilities.
Oh,
All
cool.
this boring, exhausting stuff that I spent hours and hours consulting
Well,
large retailers.
boring, but has a tremendous impact on the consumer, like whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, and it was not just the impact on the consumer. we were also creating an impact for the brand itself so that they understood the consumer and understood the consumer's needs. And I got burnt out. And, post pandemic, you kind of, I think many people, I'm not that unique from anybody else. We kind of went through this period where we started asking ourselves, what do we really want to do with our lives? Because
Yeah.
the pandemic just kind of forced you to really think about that. I have younger children, now the ages of 7 and 11, but back then they were even younger. And I was like, I'm working way too many hours for other people to succeed. And I've always had this itch to do my own thing. And I always had this design, like actually aesthetic, like getting my hands on and doing some type of fashion design in retail. And so I went through the exercise of what am I going to do next? And I happened to come across somebody who kind of built this like skeleton business, peakyhat.com, and they had a couple hats on the website. Didn't do anything with it. It was kind of this like starter kit, if you
Yeah.
will,
Yeah. Yeah.
the skeleton. And I talked to them, and immediately, like within 30 seconds, I saw the vision. And I said, that is exactly what I want to do. And fast forward only 2.5 years later, I feel like this is what I was born to do.
Wow. So you've
A
had Peaky for two and a
little
half
over two
years?
years. Yeah.
Wow.
So
So
still
like,
very immature in terms of the lifespan of a Hatter or an e-commerce site, but we're starting to hit our stride, which is
hey,
exciting.
listen, Gucci and all those designers and those houses didn't, they had to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
They had they
absolutely.
had they had a
Everybody has
first
to
two
start at
years as
something.
well, right? So,
Yeah. And when I went down this path, it was really along the lines of I want to do something in the e-commerce world because that's what I know, but I also wanted to really simplify what I did. And, I live in Central Ohio, and ultimately I wanted to be ingrained in the community. And so part of my near-term vision is to have a brick and mortar store in our local community because I want to do something that can make an impact on the community and kind of be part of the fabric that
mm,
makes the small town. So eventually that's the direction that I'm looking to take.
that's very cool. Like, what really sort of got me going is when I went to your website and I saw a couple things there, and I didn't realize that you were only a couple years old.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs and things, and people that are embryonic. And I actually have my own startup too. We can talk about that another day.
Yeah.
But you don't see a lot of them have a focus on some of the things that I saw on your website, like the commitment, the
Yeah.
about us, and some of those things that you had mentioned. So when you're doing a startup, you're crazy, you're trying to do all kinds of things and everything else.
Right.
And I think some of the foundational things become missing, but it doesn't look like any of that stuff was missing for you. So how did that
Yeah.
come up, or why? I mean, you could have spent much more time doing other things. Why put the story
Absolutely.
up there? Why talk about those values? And I'm going to shut up because I want to hear you talk. But I mean, I get excited about this stuff. I love it.
Yeah. No, and as do I, which is why I took the path that I did. And so I'm going to put this akin to sports. I played very little. I didn't quite have the stature that I needed, but I played a little bit of college basketball and other sports at a next level. And you practice and you practice and you practice in the off season. That way, when the game comes, all those foundational things are very natural, right? Like you've got the basics down. You don't even have to think about the basics anymore.
Right.
That was my first 2 decades of my professional experience. I
Mm,
was gathering all this experience, and the fact that I have a background in consulting and helping guide large retailers on what their e-commerce experience should look like and how they should interact with customers, I was able to bring all of that forward and now do that enterprise foundation at a smaller scale, which what I'm doing for my small business mom and pop shop, which is ultimately going to grow, kind of outgrow that moniker. But because I had that experience, I knew what the structure and the baseline, basically the table stakes had to be in order for me to pull off the vision that I wanted to do. And because of that background, I think I was set up because I had been practicing and now it's like, okay, now it's game time. Implement it for yourself and take the shoulder the responsibility that whatever you put out there, it's on you now.
yeah.
It used to be that I would guide others, but at the end of the day, they're CEO or CFO. or a CMO would have to make the decision. So the decision didn't ultimately lie with me, but now it does.
Yeah, it's all
And
you.
and
It is
yeah,
all you, as they say. So,
it,
and I'm just I'm scrolling up here. So if I look kind of weird, I'm just looking at a screen that's
yeah,
right above me. Um, Stay Peaky.
yeah,
I'm probably not even know if I'm sure I'm saying that right, but
yeah.
tell me, like, if people want to know about that,
Stay
I'll
peaky.
let them go over there, and I'm not going to read your website. That's I'm more
Yeah.
curious about like how where did you come up with all this stuff? Where did it come from, and how did it manifest to this? Because this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think there's two directions to go. Let me start with the vision and kind of the values of Peaky Hat first, and then I'll come back to the Stay
Yeah,
Peaky
that sounds good.
if you're good with that. So when I started this, and I think I even have this articulated on the website, and I'll be the first one to admit there's a lot of opportunities on the website now, especially from a messaging standpoint. So I'm also getting better at what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. The more I learn, the better the experience comes. When I started peakyhat.com and I started to go down this path, it was important to me, and this I think came from my background in digital strategy and leading different efforts where you kind of have to know where you're going. I'm a golfer. So here we go back to,
I'm sorry. I
I should say
apologize.
I'm a golfer. I get out and golf every now and then. But when you play a golf hole, you need to know where the flag is. Like if you turn around and hit it the other way, you're not doing yourself a very good job. So you at least have to understand the direction that you're heading and what you want the end result to be. You kind of play a hole backwards. And so when it came to digital strategy and any initiative or program that I would lead, I always wanted to know what's the end game, what's the goal that we have in sight. And so with Peaky Hat, even as a small business by myself, I wanted to establish those so that I had something to keep me in the right rails and to keep me honest and moving in the right direction. And so I created or kind of defined what I would say the three pillars or values of Peaky Hat and what I do. And I articulate that on the website, probably an opportunity to do it better. The first one was I wanted to constantly improve the quality of the cap without sacrificing cost. So what that really boils down to, there are, if you look at the entire marketplace, there are a lot of brands that want to be the best and they want to be the premium brand. They want to go after top-notch buyers and they're going to outprice 80% of the market. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be that. I wanted Peaky Hat to fall in the space where we are quality above average quality, but below average on cost. So
Mm,
that the everyday working person, the hardworking individuals across the United States and even globally for that matter, can afford to get a hat.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there are so many amazing hats out there, but they outprice us incredibly quick. Like nobody really has
And they're not
means.
all and they're not all
They're not
quality.
all quality. That's exactly right. Like nobody has the means to go buy two or three hats that cost $180 a
Yeah.
piece. You just can't afford it. And so I didn't want to be that, but I wanted to be that quality. Yeah,
Yeah. I
it
mean,
it
the
is.
quality is amazing.
The quality of my hats, I would challenge that you would be far pressed to find better quality hats even remotely in the price range that the Peaky Hat sells them for. And so I wanted to constantly pursue better quality, but maintain prices that were attainable by today's workforce. Because I'm a firm believer that I'd rather put more hats in more people's hands than just put hats in those that have been, fortunate enough or lucky enough to have the means to buy a $200 hat. So that was one, and I continue to maintain and stay true to that one. The second one, this was really around the experience. If you have an interaction with Peaky Hat, whether it's discovering us for the first time, trying to figure out the right fit, the right style, or unboxing your cap, or buying your fifth hat, I want that to be one of the best experiences you had that day. I'm competing with everything. And I don't know that I'm actually going to get it, right? Because you have a lot of other things in your day to day that could be way more amazing than your experience with Peaky Hat. But I want to at least try to make sure that the experience you have with us is a good one. Buying a hat should be rewarding. It should be fun. It should not be a pain in the ass with rub, and because then you're never going to come back.
Yep.
Like there's two sides to that coin. One, I just want you to have a good experience. And if we can bring a spark of joy in your day, like you have to admit, unboxing that hat, it was exciting.
It was cool. I mean,
There's adrenaline with
it was
it, right?
fun.
And I want to be able to do that, even if it's a small moment. If we can deliver that moment of joy more often than not, today's world, I mean, we need more of that, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And so it's all about delivering the best experience possible, no matter what you're doing. Even if you're returning a cap or an exchange, I want it to be an easy experience that you can enjoy and not be afraid to come back and do it again. And then the third one, I wanted to build a brand that customers, my kids, my family, and myself could be proud to support.
Mm.
Honestly, what that boils down to, don't be an asshole. Like, like really that one's probably the easiest one to do for at least for me. And what that's about is I want to build a brand. We're open, we're accepting, we embrace every person's individuality, and we help encourage you to be you and to be confident with who you are. And if a hat can help you with that, we talked about that a little bit before. If we can help you step out the door and feel good about yourself, we're just a hat. The hat's not making you. The hat's just helping you pull out something that you already have. And so I
Mhm.
want to build a brand that people can be proud to support. And that means being open and being widely accepting of all walks of life. No matter your skin color, no matter your religious background, no matter what team you affiliate with, if you like chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, like we don't like we want to embrace it. In fact, that individuality and the differences that we all share is the thing that we have in common.
Yeah,
You
and you know what?
and I
I
aren't the
think
same people, but
yeah, well,
there's
it
nothing wrong
helps.
with that.
It helps sort of accentuate your own personal
Yeah,
brand too, right? So
absolutely.
it's funny because like there's the Peaky Hat brand, but I feel like this is accentuating or reflecting a little bit about me, right?
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
not a baseball hat guy, and people may look at that and it can say it's almost like a conversation starter.
Yeah. And it's self-expression.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what fashion really is. It's really just expressing yourself in one unique way. My son happens to love sports and video games, so he's got shirts that has his favorite video game on it or some kind of saying. It's because he's self-expressing. That's him. That's what he does. And when it comes to a hat, it's just another piece of that puzzle.
Yeah. So over your 2.5 year journey thus far, what has come up for you with those three elements? Is there things that have surprised you, or said, you know what, I think I'm on the right path because of some of the stuff
Yeah.
that's happening.
I think all of those and the fact that I stay true to them have me on the right path. I think like we'll start with one, the affordability and the quality. I think that's appreciated usually once. So I've got some data and I haven't checked this in a while, but I ran some statistics a few months ago. Every person that buys a hat, they come back. 1 out of 3 comes back and buys their second hat in less than 2 months.
Oh, wow.
To me, that speaks to quality and affordability. If you couldn't afford it, you're not going to come back again that quickly. If you don't like the quality, you're certainly not going to come back that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're constantly right now, I'm trying to bring new eyeballs to the brand. So there's always going to be a chunk of first time buyers, but every day in and out, 20 to 30% of my purchases are repeat customers.
Wow.
So I think that speaks volume to high quality because they love the cap and they want another one, and affordability because they can continue to come back. But I also think that that couples with the experience. If they would have had a really bad experience, you're also not going to come back.
Yeah.
I care most about your first hat because I want you to have an experience that's going to encourage you to come back again, I care even more about the fifth hat.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like that's really the long game if I'm putting the business side at play. And in the building a brand that people can be proud of, there's this real drive and thing that is happening. And Peaky Hat's not unique. There are a lot of brands that have been able to capture this. There's a community of people that love and have an affinity for the brand. And I believe that's a testament to number three.
Tell me a
The
little bit
brand is
about the
big.
community. What is this
Yeah.
community you're holding out on me on?
Yeah, so we call it the Peaky family. It's nothing tangible other than the customers that Peaky Hat has that are vocal and supportive. Like we talked about the guy that put the sticker on the back of his Chrysler 300. Like he believes not only in Peaky Hat and who we are, but what we stand for enough to put my logo on something that he cherishes. And that community of people, to be candid, they are what I consider the fuel to this engine. Like
Hmm.
it is so rewarding for me. I mean, I've had, again, 2 decades of professional experience. I have never felt so much of a personal um, career fulfillment and a rewarding effort than I do today.
Why do you
All
think
hands
that
on.
is?
I think it's twofold, maybe even threefold. One, there's a creative aspect. Like I had this creative itch that I was never able to scratch. Whereas now I'm designing with like you mentioned early in the conversation. I was very fortunate. There's a runway show called Dressed to Kilt. It's one of the most prestigious Scottish fashion shows in the world. They're 20 plus years running. The late Sean Connery started it,
Oh, okay.
and it's continuing even to this day. I got invited to be a designer of choice, basically to outfit runway models with my caps.
How did you like, what does
The
that journey
team
look
yeah,
like?
the team that runs the show happened one of them happened to buy one of my hats, and they're like, oh, this is amazing, this fits into exactly what we're doing, let's give this guy a call. And I was like, hey, you got the wrong number. I don't think you realize who kind of deal. And so it was such an honor to be invited and to be a part of that. And you mentioned like in high school, college, at no point in my life was I like, one day I'm going to be a stylist on, for a huge fashion show. Like that was never part of the conversation. And so to be part of that now, because of my creative designs, because I design all the caps, and some of my designs are very unique, very new, and I kind of push some boundaries. And I think I'm afforded that opportunity because I don't have 100 years of legacy.
Yeah, yeah, you're
I'm
not
not
locked in.
I'm
Yeah.
not locked into anything, right? Like I'm willing to kind of push the envelope. And then the others are inspired by, like I don't hide it. Like the Peaky Blinders series has done wonders for the newsboy and bringing it back into modern day fashion. And so there are a lot of designs that are very much inspired by caps that we see in the beloved series Peaky Blinders. But my designs are catching people's eyes and people love it. And like that, like that's a bucket I don't think I was ever able to fill before. Like I can only imagine an artist being able to put a mural or something on display, public display, and have people come up and have it move them and be, emotionally tied to something that they contributed. I think that's where that fulfillment comes from because my customers are very vocal and the feedback and the encouragement is consistent. And I just that's a feeling that not only have I never been able to feel before professionally, but I wish everybody else got to feel what I do on a day in and day out basis when people are excited about something that I was able to deliver.
I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I can almost hear in your tone and even in your posture, you change a little bit when you talk about that.
Yeah,
You
it's
can see
real.
it's
It's
coming
raw.
from a deeper place.
Yeah, it is. And I'll touch on this one lightly because then we'll get even deeper into a hole that'll be hard to dig out of.
Yeah, let's go.
I recently designed a hat, and you may have seen this. I've got them floating around here. And there's a very raw and real story behind it, and so those that follow the Peaky Hat brand are very familiar with it. This one's made out of a suede-like material. I happen to have a flat cap made out of the same material. It's called the Bromwich. My father currently is battling with Parkinson's, and he went
Sorry.
through a procedure where he had to have a brain surgery, and he really wanted a hat to wear that was soft and comfortable because he had scars, but he also wanted to hide it, right? And so I gave him a hat that was similar to this using this material because it's one of the softest fabrics that I've ever worked with. And so fast forward about a year, I was designing a new hat and I loved working with this material and this fabric and I wanted to turn it into a newsboy. In doing so, I couldn't help but every single time I went back to this design, think of that hat that I gave to my dad during that process. And actually, in a previous podcast that you did, I was listening to you ask somebody, who's your hero? And I don't ever want to sway away from the fact that, my dad, my entire extended family, and even the family I've married into, they're all my heroes because they're such a big part of my lives and my children's lives that, those are the people that I look up to on a day-to-day basis. But in designing this cap, I ended up naming it after my dad. And so this cap is
Oh, the
called
Bob Wayne.
the Bob Wayne. So it's has my dad's name, but I made it because the fabric made me think of, and it was just perfect for him. And so I now have a hat that will live on, and his legacy
Wow.
is a big part of it. Growing up, my dad was very, uh, I want to say quiet's probably not the right word, but very stoic in
Yeah.
nature. And I was able to watch him from afar, and it was a lesson I didn't learn until I got older because I didn't appreciate it as much as I did as a young child. He impacted a lot of lives through action and the things he did for others. He
What
went
did he do? What was his profession?
he wa- actually he was in IT, and so he worked at Scott's long time ago in IT and helped them build their IT infrastructure. And then he went on to Butler Animal Health, kind of doing the same thing for years. And I went to his retirement party, and it was the first time as an adolescent that I was able to hear other people talk
Wow.
about him,
Wow.
and I was so floored and taken aback by how people were willing to step forward and give their appreciation for my father, not because of how good he was at his job, but because how he treated the people around him.
Mm.
And that was probably one of the most impactful moments for me as a career. You can be incredibly successful and lead without, being a tyrant. They are people on the other end, whether they're working with you, for you, whether they're your customers, whether they're your partners. At the end of the day, we're all people. You know, the things that we are when we wake up is more important than probably why you and I are talking. You're a
Yeah.
father, you're a brother, you're a son, you're a friend, you're a mother. Like you're all these other things that define you even more than just the interaction that you and I have. And so it's important for me to respect that and the fact that we have something in common that's brought us together to talk. We should take that as a blessing and an opportunity, and nothing short of it.
That
And
is
so
very cool.
when it comes to like these hats, it's that connection with these people. It's meaningful, uh,
That thank you for
genuine.
sharing. That is very cool. I'm curious, like as a father, have you noticed things now that you look back at your father?
Oh
It's like
gosh, yeah.
I'm
Oh
getting choked up too because I got three
yeah.
kids too, and it was
Oh,
an
it
emotional weekend
is.
this past weekend. So
Like I think every parent, not every, I shouldn't say that. That's probably a gross overgeneralization. I think many parents, if you grew up with a childhood that you liked, and not everybody did. I was very fortunate. I had a wonderful childhood. I didn't have hardships. I was, you know, very modest upbringing, but also in a very happy household. And so as my kids grow up, I want them to have the same things I did, I can't. That was 40 years ago. There's just no way to replicate what we did 40 years ago in today's day and age. But my parents were very there, very present. And so like to me that's the most important part is to just be present. And that was a big driver for me to do what I'm doing now because I felt like my kids doing the data strategy and all that stuff, they couldn't be a part of that. I had no idea. It was boring and it went over their head. But now I design hats. My kids can absolutely not only grip what I do, but they can articulate it to their friends. I have hats that my kids wear. Like they are champions of Peaky Hat, and that's an awesome feeling. So professionally, not only do I get the fulfillment there, but now it's something that I can actually connect and my kids can relate to, which is you can't put a price on that.
Yeah, that is pretty deep. Thank you for going there. I know it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, and I that's what my son's in first grade and he's got all his little buddies. So my goal is to get every one of those kids in that class want to wearing my hat one
No,
day.
you want the dads of those kids wearing
That's
those
where we
hats.
start.
And
Yeah,
even
and
the
I do.
even the moms
I
too.
do, and I've got a handful. And then my daughter, she wears my hats better than anybody else I know. She's one of my one of my biggest champions when it comes to Peaky Hat, and she
I
can do it
wish I had
all.
ordered it earlier because we were away this past weekend at my talk about life journeys, right? Like you got two little ones and I have three that are, on the other end. So my oldest just graduated from college this weekend, and that's where we're at his
Yep.
graduation. I wish I had this I wish I ordered it a couple days earlier so I can have it up there because I know for sure, there would have been a lot of comments, which would
Yeah.
have been cool to share that story.
I joke, there's two types of people in this world. There's people that look really good in a Peaky Hat, and then there's people that just don't know it yet. It's all timing. It's all
That's
timing.
funny. So you had touched upon this, and I want maybe see if we can expand a little bit here. But you talked about your heroes, and I appreciate you
Yeah.
actually listening to the podcast. So you're the one that I know that has been listening to it.
Gotcha.
So tell me about those heroes. Who are they, and how have they impacted your life?
Yeah, I heroes, I think it's an evolving term. When you're a kid, your hero is a very different figure than as you get older and you really understand what a hero is and what it takes to be a hero. And so I will always, and I don't ever want to lose touch of this, but as a kid, your dad's your hero. I don't ever want to lose touch of that. And I think part of it's because I don't want my kids to ever lose touch of that either. And so, I will always put my dad up there as one of my heroes. But I think I would be doing the rest of my entire family and circle of friends a bit of injustice if I didn't lump them into that too. I'm not a subscriber to the you have a hero. I think there are heroes and heroic moments that come in our day-to-day lives. And to me, it's those that surround me. It's hard for me to put on a pedestal and say that somebody's a hero if I really don't know who they are. Right?
Hmm.
Because I think a hero is so much deeper than one act of heroism, so to speak. And I don't know them, so it's hard for me to really get a sense of are they really heroic at their core? But those that are in my circle, absolutely. And so there's a number of family and friends and people that are part of my immediate intimate circle that I would say are heroic in terms of what they do to support me and to support others and anybody that supports my children and makes the lives of my children better, they're going to be a hero a day in and
Wow.
day out,
Yeah.
all the way from their teachers to their bus driver to neighbors, to grandmas and grandpas, to aunts and uncles, to even their friends to a lesser degree, right? Um, and my wife, the mother of my children, is no exception to it as well.
Well, I love
Think
that.
she
Thank you.
does to keep the family moving in the right direction. We're lucky. I've got two incredible kids, and that's not by accident. And
Yeah.
so, for me to say anything less than, or for me to call my wife anything less than a hero, just doesn't fit.
Well, I can feel like who you are and how that ends up here.
Yeah,
Right. So
it's
that's
in
that's
it,
why
right?
yeah, that's why I do this journey, because I feel ultimately that who we are ends up in what we do.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so curious about that journey and what we do. Do you no, one thing that you mentioned, I'm kind of curious about, but that circle and that group of friends and that family and those you are taking, do you think that they know your values?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the older I have gotten, the more intellectual some of those conversations have come, right? Like
What do you mean? Really?
when you're in your late 20s, you're not really sitting down and talking about philosophical differences or like-mindedness. You're just talking about Madden and what you're playing in the moment. And do we have enough money to get a pizza today?
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, those relationships have become more meaningful, and there's been more opportunities, especially like in the last five. I mean, we've lived through a pandemic, right? Like, I don't think anybody expected to do that, but as you're living through a pandemic, we're all kind of in this same storm, but we all had very different boats. Somebody were in this storm and on a yacht, other people, were in a small canoe, and so the storm rocked their boat a little bit harder than others. And so you had all that happen. We've had a lot on the political spectrum, just in the last 6 to 8 years as well. So all of that happens. We start having these meaningful conversations with friends and family, and so I think a lot of those values come out naturally
Yeah.
because we're having more serious, impactful conversations than I ever would have had, in my youth. But I also believe that now we kind of pick and choose who's in our circle. I'm way more selective, mostly because I just don't have time
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the other stuff, and because I'm selective, those that have similar values, or at least are those who are open and willing to talk about if we have different values, well, at least we're able to talk about them constructively. And so you kind of gravitate towards people that way naturally, even though I'm a huge believer that I would rather have an equal balance of like-minded as well as those who have oppositions, because I think it's important for me to listen and learn and understand. It'd be silly for me to think that what I believe in is the right thing all the time. Um,
Yeah, that is a really profound and deep statement, because you're right. It's not that everybody has the exact same values and things of that nature. So we call it, values congruency. So it's
yeah,
not that you agree, but everybody's sort of in the same ballpark, and we can sort of align on things, and we know that there's certain things that are important, so we can talk to each other, not
yeah,
through each other.
absolutely.
And I
We
think
need
that
more of it.
what's that?
We need more of it.
Well, that's what I hope I'm doing in this little world here, this part of what I'm trying to do here, because this has been a really rich conversation, and I loved it. I really appreciate it. And for me, it was almost like going backwards. Like I saw the hat, I read about the quality, I loved it, I looked at it, and I'm almost like going backwards and finding out about you,
Yeah,
right? Which actually makes this even a more important purchase to me.
yeah.
Right? So it's a different
No,
content.
I appreciate you saying that. That it means a lot because it means like I'm doing something right. And from a business side, it's like, okay, how do you get that out there before? Because it's real, it's raw. And we do live in a world where there's hundreds of e-commerce sites and brands, and you don't know how many of them are genuine, how many of them are fake, how many of them are just putting stuff out there to improve conversion rates. And look, like I'm doing those things too, but it's coming from a real spot. Like I genuinely hope that everybody that buys the hat, but part of it, yeah, I've got anxiety, so I don't ever want anybody to be upset with something that I did. I mean, we'll do 1,000 orders and 999 of them will be perfect, but that one's the one that keeps me up at night,
Yeah.
kind of deal. And that's something for me to improve and to try to overcome because you can't please everybody, but I'm hell bent on trying.
No, but it fire keeps the fire in the belly too. And I think the
Uh,
next, and you may appreciate this, and I have no context or data behind this, but I almost think that the next digital currency is going to be authenticity,
yeah, it is.
right?
And we use that word often, right? And it's not just it's incredibly important that Peaky Hat continues to stay authentic to who we are, and we are very transparent and authentic in our messaging, but we're doing it because I want the customer to be authentic to themselves. And so because it's bi-directional, I think it's that much more rich. It's
Yeah, I don't think you have
like
to
how do I
tell people,
wrap
but
that up and sell it?
yeah, yeah, that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to talk about your authenticity. I think you're living it. So and at
Yeah.
least that's the way I feel, and from our conversation and what we do. So if there were, one or two key takeaways that you would want from somebody that's listening to us yap away, what would be one or two key takeaways that you would want people to take?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, there's two. And so very much ingrained in my day to day. And I got this before I even started Peaky Hat. I instilled this into my kids. I actually picked this up listening to a podcast over a decade ago. There was a prior CEO of Levi Strauss, and name was Chip Berg. And I happened to be listening to a podcast, and he said a big part of what they do, they choose the harder right over the easier wrong. And so growing up, I don't want to dive into the religious conversation, but I was never very religious. So I always went by the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. And I felt like if I did that on a day in and day out basis, at least if anything else, I'm building good karma. And so as I've evolved and grown older and becoming, into the professional world, choosing the harder right over the easier wrong is this mantra that we try to abide by day in and day out. And that's really what Peaky Hat is about. Everything that we do is trying to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Just doing the right thing. It's not about profit, it's about doing the right thing because I believe firmly that if I do enough of the right thing, it'll come back and reward us, 5 or 10 times over. The other one, I think it really just boils down to being accepting and open, embracing who you are, and be willing to allow others to embrace who they are. And really that boils down to we have an ad that is currently running, and there's an individual who was willing to do an unboxing for us, and he's an incredible human being. He happens to have a nose ring and a couple tattoos and fingernails painted, so the way he self-expresses. We have people that comment on it. It is by far our best performing ad because it's genuine, it's real. Um, but I have people that comment on it all the time. Lose the nose ring, lose the or this is the
Really?
worst person to represent your brand. I am very quick, not just to defend, but to explain why he's perfect for our brand. And it's not him that's perfect for our brand. Everybody's perfect for our brand. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are, what you look like, what you like. It's okay to be authentic and true to yourself, but it's equally as important that you allow others to be authentic and true to themselves. Just because they don't look like you, talk like you, act like you, doesn't mean that it's necessary for you to judge them differently.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
think,
far from piercings, other than the one I have here from many years ago, and
yeah,
tattoos, but I'm probably just as much of a fan of the brand as that individual is.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And frankly, if I felt like it was who I was, I'd be doing it. Like I think if you really look back, 100 years in our past, those types of self-expression meant more to tribes and people ever than today. We just do it in a very different method today. And and if a peaky hat's the way to do it, we got you.
Ryan, listen, I can't thank you enough for doing this. This really has been an absolute pleasure. And if you ever want to come back and talk again about this stuff, I'm more than happy to do that. This really was an absolute joy. If people want to get a Peaky Hat or they want to learn more
Yeah.
about some of those things that you talked about, it's almost like a philosophy and a style, not just a hat. But if they want
Yeah,
to
it
learn
doesn't
more about it, what's
it's
the
it's
best way?
it's just a hat, but it's never just a hat. I mean the things, the stories that I get from people are incredible, from weddings to they bought it because it reminds them of their dad or their grandfather or their grandmother. Or they had an aunt that exposed them to it. It's amazing. So anybody that's looking for it, it's pretty simple. Peakyhat.com. reach out to us. We are on the other end. We do use AI on occasion, but the reality is we're here to help any step of the way because we are hell bent on getting you into a cat that you love.
Very cool. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's reciprocated, Tom. Couldn't be happier. I appreciate you inviting us.
You got it.